Hello. Thank you for taking some time to listen to this presentation on the overview of the new SGCC laminated glass certification changes. You should have received a few email notifications from SGCC over the last year or so, letting you know of these upcoming changes. These changes will not go into effect until July 1st, 2024. Recently, you received an email specifically tailored to your facility. This example here is just for this presentation. Within this email, you will find attached the new laminated guidance document. This document can also be found on the SGCC website. This document supersedes any previous versions. It contains all of SGCC's laminated guidelines, will take you through the summary of the changes, how the summary nomenclature was established. It's going to go into detail about specific specialty product requirements, including inserts and coatings. It's also going to show you the new laminated labeling changes that are going to be put into effect as well. This email contains a memo. Within this memo, it lists out the LAMI guidelines, requirements, timetable, along with a summary of the changes, what needs to be done and when, and a brief summary here below. A few notable dates include April of 2024, SGCC's L24 invoices will be issued. These will include your new numbers, along with again July 1st of 2024, when the transfer of your old certification numbers to your new numbers will be done and activated. No changes will occur to your certification until this date. A brief overview of the summary of changes. There will now only be one acronym for laminated glass, and this will certify all laminated glass. The new acronym will be Laminated Safety Glass, and there will no longer be laminated specialty products. The removal of standard and heavy classification and categories. These categories were defined as if you certified anything thinner than 8mm, you were in the standard category. If you certified anything 8mm or greater, you were in the heavy category. These will be going away. There's going to be changes to your initial and ongoing testing. This is going to be including the glass makeup. We're no longer certifying it to just the nominal thickness. The overall LAMI makeup will be focused on. We're going to do an individual glass light breakdown to see how a product was configured. Ongoing testing, though, will still be done to the thinnest construction. There will be a new metric nomenclature. We're no longer going to require specimen thicknesses in standard and heavy classes, and therefore you're going to see things in millimeters, and this will also update your labeling requirements. We're no longer going to require that the thickness be on the laminated label or the standard and heavy classification on the label. Please note that this is for LAMI only. Tempered labels and logos will still require the thickness be included in the label. The changes to the labeling will not go into effect or be mandatory for at least 1 year, giving fabricators a year to obtain their new labels and logos. We will also go into some of the changes within the inner layers, your coatings, inserts, change qualifying for automatic acceptance, or requiring additional weathering or impacting will be outlined in this document. There are a few changes in where requirements of additional testing or weathering testing may not be covered within the base configuration. This memo also includes your timeline for implementation. As of right now, we're in the first half of 2024, and we are working on contacting all fabricators who are currently certified with a laminated product. We're going over the explanation of these new guidance and changes, the new SGCC certification requirements for laminated glass, and what plants will need to do prior to getting new SGCC numbers. New numbers will not be activated until July 1st of 2024. However, you will see these new numbers in your April billing for your semi-annual billing for your L24 invoices. SGCC pre-bills each cycle. So just to reiterate, your new certification will become active the last half of 2024. Your existing numbers will remain active until that point, so there will be no lapse in your certification. Your old certification numbers will be tied to the new ones in our system as well for reference. And then as of July 1st of 2025, the laminated label requirements will become mandatory, once again giving you a year to work on obtaining your new labels. Within your email, you would have also received an overview of your current certification versus what changes are proposed. So this is an example. Along the top here, you will see your current certification or what you are currently certified to. Within your laminated SGCC numbers. While looking at your current certified products, you can see the nominal thickness range that you're certified to, whether you're currently certified to standard or heavy category, your current attributes, including the generic code for your interlayer class, along with your base glass kind that you have been certified to, either annealed, heat strength, chemically strengthened, or fully tempered. Just a reminder, testing with annealed will cover you for all base classes. That covers you for annealed, heat strength, chemically strengthened, or fully tempered. If you test with heat strength, you will only be covered for heat strength and fully tempered. And if you test with fully tempered or chemically strengthened, you're only certified to fully tempered or chemically strengthened. It will also have your inner layer thickness here in inches. Part of the new nomenclature of all thicknesses will be in millimeters, but for this comparison proposal work, we will provide you the inner layer thickness in inches. So let's compare your current certification to what's being proposed. These changes will hopefully result in a condensed SGCC number, since SGCC has moved away from the standard and heavy categories. So you can see here, we've started with these 3 SGCC products, and we've been able to condense these 3 down to 2. The colors were used to help correlate between the 2 charts. So starting with this product here, AAAA, it is a standard product that has a nominal thickness of 6 millimeters, using an 030 PVB inner layer and a base glass kind of annealed glass. We have another product, BBBB, that is within the heavy category, a nominal thickness range of 8 mil to 16 plus, using an 030 inner layer, PVB, and a base glass kind of annealed glass. We were able to condense these 2 products down to 1. This new proposed number is showing the thinnest or minimum configuration at the top and the thickest or maximum configuration at the bottom. So these are the thinnest and thinnest and thickest configuration that you are certified to. To help reduce the overall impact on certified laminated fabricators, SGCC approved using already existing test reports that were provided to SGCC for the original certification to fulfill the testing requirements for the new certification nomenclature. So to determine the min configuration, we pulled the latest 6mm test report and broke down the construction, which provided us with 3mm light with a 3mm light with an 030 PVB interlayer. By using ASTM C1036 tolerance chart for tempered flat glass, the light thickness provided on the test report in inches was converted to millimeters. To determine the maximum configuration, we took the thickest construction, the 16 plus, and using that product's test report, we broke down the construction by each light, which resulted in 10mm light and a 6mm light. Using this information, the maximum summary nomenclature is 10mm piece of glass, a 6mm piece of glass, dash 030 interlayer with a PVB generic code. This allowed SGCC to take the two SGCC products. Since they both were tested to 030, they both were a PVB, and we made one product. Therefore, with this construction, you will be able to make any configuration one light between 3mm and thicker because you have no cap since this maximum was tested to 10 with an 030 interlayer. And your second light can be within a 3mm and a 6mm, the 6mm being capped. Keep in mind to have a 16 plus designation that allows you to make anything thicker, you have to submit at least 2 lights of 8mm glass. This will allow you to certify to have no cap on the maximum configuration that you can use. So for this product, if a fabricator wished to have no cap and to be able to make any configuration, we would recommend that you would send in an 8mm piece of glass, an 8mm piece of glass with an 030 PVB interlayer. Test it once, and if it passes, your certification will be updated. Similar to how LAMI is currently certified, each interlayer code must be certified separately. Therefore, reviewing the test reports for product CCCC to make the minimum and maximum product configuration, each test report was reviewed and the thinnest minimum light to light construction and thickest maximum light to light construction was used and shown here. In this example, the two configurations that were found was a 5 and a 5 with an 060 IP and an 8 and an 8 with an 060 IP. So this layout of min and max breaks down each configuration from the thinnest submission to the thickest submission, covering you for any makeup in between. As another reminder, you cannot go backwards or thinner unless you have tested thinner. For example, if you certified with the 5mm and the 5mm, you cannot make a laminated product that contains a 5mm light and a 4mm light. Included in the email memo, there contains a detailed outline of these SGCC changes. This can be an overwhelming document, greater than 20 pages long, but we will try to go through this briefly and review it We do request that you review this in detail prior to having a call with SGCC, or if you have more questions. It does go into, again, what changes the licensee is going to be seeing and looking at between initial testing, the removal of the two different type of acronyms to only one LSG. This presentation also goes into explaining your initial and ongoing testing requirements. It shows you how SGCC used to certify laminated glass along with the range. If you were certified for an 8, a 10, a 12, and a 16 under one number, you had to initially submit 8, 10, 12, and 16 millimeters to get that range. Now, you will only need to send your thinnest configuration, the minimum, and your thickest configuration, the maximum, and you will be certified for everything in between. So for example, in the bottom left-hand corner here, it shows you that if you send in the thinnest configuration of 2 lights of 2.7 pieces of glass with an 030 interlayer, and you send in your thickest configuration with 2 lights of 8 millimeter glass with an 030 interlayer, you're certified for everything in between. Now, keeping that in mind, you can't go thinner than the 2.7 since it hasn't been tested. And because 2 lights of 8 mil were sent in for testing, you can go thicker. You're certified for that 16 plus, so there's no cap to the thickness of the lights that you wish to use for your configuration. Say a 6 and a 6 millimeter glass with an 030 interlayer, you would not be able to go past that for your thickness of configuration. You'd be capped at the 6 millimeters, but you can make everything in between that and your thinnest. Another way of displaying this here to the right is showing that a 3 and a 4 mil were tested for the thinnest configuration, and a 5 and a 6 mil for the thickest configuration using the same interlayer thickness. Displays to the right what thicknesses you're qualified to make, along with what thicknesses you are not qualified to make. So a 3 and a 3 would not be allowed because you did not test the 3 on the outboard light for your thinnest configuration. It also shows you that if you try to surpass a 5 or a 6 for your thickest configuration, that's not allowed either. You can't use, say, a 6 and a 6 because you did not test with a 6 and a 6. You only tested with a 5 and a 6. The following pages here within this document break down in more words and reiterating more of the same items previously discussed, just in more detail. This is a list of the guidelines that are currently within the SGCC Laminated program that will not be changing. These will be remaining the same. This is showing the acceptable modifications to glass within a laminated product. These images and descriptions were adopted following the October 5th of 2022 SGCC annual certification meeting. Here contains another view of the new summary nomenclature. On this slide, we are displaying how the summary nomenclature was established using the ASTM C1036 tolerance table for transparent flat glass and converting that from inches to millimeters, giving us the ability to display all of our new nomenclature in metric form. Here's an example of how SGCC staff are using your existing certified test reports to obtain your new nomenclature breakdown. Again, the SGCC board approved using existing test reports that contain the required material. So we will do our best to limit the amount of additional testing needed to be done on your part. But you may be required to send in additional testing if we're unable to gather the necessary information. But if we have a report available that contains all the required info needed, we promise we will utilize it. So here we are displaying a few example test reports from different laboratories showing what we are using to obtain the required information. You can see how this test laboratory provided the construction breakdown within the report. So looking at the glass lights, one thickness of 0.318 inches, we would go back to the ASTM C1036 chart and convert this to millimeters and apply that to your new nomenclature. And the same would be done with the second light of glass. Here's a more detailed breakdown of how we use these test reports to determine that summary nomenclature. This is an example of a current laminated specialty product that we use to break down this configuration. Many of our laminated specialty products now contain inserts that are encapsulated between two approved interlayers and therefore are covered under the base construction and do not need to be tested and certified separately with this new laminated guideline change. SGCC's main focus is to test the adhesion of the interlayer to glass. So anything that's encapsulated between two already approved interlayers is covered by the base construction. Here we're providing an overview of the certified laminated listings, how your product will appear in the CPD, and how your plant certificate will be presented. Laminated and tempered glass will be separated on your new certificate. The CPSC documents, or SGCC's Record of Compliance Testing documents, will include the new min and max nomenclature within the product identification. The next few pages include a few Q&As that we have received from certified laminated fabricators. And as we continue with these efforts, SGCC will maintain an up-to-date list and provide it on our SGCC website. This slide provides a bullet item summary page of everything that has been discussed in this document, along with the implementation schedule. So again, you will see your new numbers on your April billing statement. They will not take effect or be activated until July 1st of 2024. So if there is any changes that need to be made in the meantime, those changes can be reviewed and discussed and adjusted by SGCC. We encourage you to take a look at all of the documents provided in the email, along with your proposed certification numbers. If you have additional questions or would like to have a one-on-one call to discuss your certification, please contact the office directly. Otherwise, we're going to proceed with how your new certification is proposed so that the April billing can reflect these changes. We thank you for being part of the SGCC program, and any feedback or questions you may have, please reach out to us.